Are you wondering how you can contribute to Funniest Thing?
Don't flip out. Go to patreon.com/funniest thing.
Whoa!
That would have been crazy.
Welcome to The Funniest Thing,
Yes.
where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Yes, it does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in...
Beautiful downtown Van Nuys.
Yes, Ed, what are we in store for today?
Well, thankfully, see that? Thankfully, your drawing inspired the show, and it is called A Tank Full of Thankful with actor Will Rubio. I think I see him in camera 4. Hey, Will Rubio. Look how much he loves his Chobo mug. He's going to be coming in during the second segment. So here we go. Maybe we can get a picture of that art, and you can send it to Indy to drop into the video. Is that possible or no?
I'll have to look for it. It might be on my Instagram.
What was the art? I never saw it.
It was a car. Yeah, I think it's on my Instagram. It's a car like taking off, and it says, "I'm off with a tank full of thankful."
Well, that's us in
It's
the
like
morning.
a little Volkswagen Bug. It's on my Instagram. I'll find it, Indy. I'll send it to you.
You know, that's it in a... What was it? That's it.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Thank you. I was going to say a mouthful, a tankful. That's it in a nutshell. A tank full of thankful with actor Will Rubio. It is odd that when the Bible is so full of the value of praise and thanksgiving, not only the Bible, but every self-help book, everything you read that has to do with living successfully.
Psychological books.
Psychology.
Yeah.
Psychology for sure. Even medicine is proving that we're healthier when we're happy and in a state of gratitude. So it is odd that when the Bible is so full of the value of praise and thanksgiving that we complain and are sorrowful. Much of the joy of living is lost because of ingratitude. And that, Charles Fillmore is the person who said that, Unity co-founder. When you praise the spirit of wisdom within, you expand and deepen and enrich your consciousness. Gratitude is not just a mental exercise to feel better. It is a magnetic power of good we are all endowed with. It transforms circumstances for the better and attracts more to be grateful for. That is so true. On this episode, Darrell and Ed, that's us, encourage each other and listeners to steer towards success with the power of appreciation. And during the second segment, Praise-iac. He's like a maniac, but full of praise. Praise-iac Will Rubio gets everyone grinning and a winnin with today's reading. Look at that. He's got a tank full of thankful. We're just getting started. The reading that we're going to have him read is called God Directed, but we're also going to hear a lot about just his life as a praise-iac. And there's a new season of Random Acts out on BYU TV. It's actually free for you to watch and enjoy, and it's an incredible show with no come down. It's just pure positive.
Yes.
Gives you a lot to appreciate. So check out Random Acts on BYU TV. They actually have an app that's also free, and you can watch it on your phone. It's great, man.
We recommend it. It's the best. If you're like scrolling through YouTube, like Ed did last night, and he almost didn't make it to the show today.
Holy smokes. Yeah.
You know what I was doing until the season ran out. Instead of my go-to habit of I could look at a little YouTube before I go to bed,
smart.
I would open up the BYU TV app and watch an episode of Random Acts because they're just 22 to 28 minutes long, but it's every single one of them. It just fills your heart. It puts you in this state of gratitude and appreciation because every story throughout the episode, it starts off very light and positive, and then you just get more and more appreciative and grateful, and it really is a wonderful way to spend your time if you're looking for something to do when you have spare time, other than scrolling through YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter.
Right. Well, it connects us back to the Random Acts and the things we're talking about on the show and appreciation. It really connects us, even chemically, hormonally, energetically, to a more of who we are. like when oftentimes I don't realize how much I'm running on fear. There's some, what's her name? Deb on the show, on what's it called? The Zoom call that we did on Thursday. What's it
Nancy Norman's Infinite Prosperity Workshop. You're all welcome to join us on there
on Thursdays. Yeah, it's 4 a.m. or 4 p.m. That's the Pacific time.
No,
7
East
a.m.
Coast.
7. No, it's
you're right.
7
you're right.
p.m. 7 a.m. is the East Coast time. It's a free Zoom call. You can jump on at unityjoyoflife.org. I got it. Thank you, Indy. Saw you leaning in for the save. unityjoyoflife.org, yes. And you go to the Infinite Prosperity class. But she said, she said how they're talking about the subtle forms of fear that sometimes will run us. We don't realize it's fear, but it can come in the form of hurry when we feel like we're hurried. And I've been noticing that lately. Like there's a voice when I feel hurried for no real good reason, even though the energy of the urgency underneath it can feel like that's reason enough. But when I really trace down the thoughts, there's a lot of fear of not being good enough, of being found out, of being caught, or just not feeling prosperous. And appreciation is a way to undo that feeling. Appreciation really connects me into a greater sense of who I am. It makes me a better teacher, a better friend. It makes me a better version of myself. I enjoy life more. So appreciation is huge, and it's just another tool, and it's actually connects us to our physiology, because once we get into that appreciative state, health follows. It really does. What do you got?
Well, yeah, and the main thing you said is there are no enemies when I'm in that state.
Yeah, that's correct.
My mind can't find any enemies. It's like, I love everybody. I love all humanity. I was wondering why I brought my prosperity notes, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, from the class, or just from all prosperity classes?
So what she quoted was from a book, Deb
Johnson, I think is her last name.
I don't know. We know her as Deb. Madonna's Madonna, Cher is Cher, Deb is Deb.
Deb.
So it's from Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Berend. That's the book. You can get it online.
If you look on, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see what Darrell just held up the book. And if you didn't know we had a YouTube channel, we do. Like and subscribe, no matter where you listen. Liking and subscribing gets the show out. And if you're listening on a podcast app, if you have never done that, you can rate it and review it. That'll help more people find the show as well.
It's so easy, I found out, to like a podcast on Apple Podcasts. You just scroll down on the page, you go boop, and you just press a button. Boop, 4 stars, 3 stars, whatever, and it makes a significant difference in people finding us.
We do have a rare ministry, which is the only reason it exists is to share this truth that works for us. There's no real membership. Of course, you can contribute through patreon.com/funniest thing, and that's amazing, but there's no real membership fee, or there's no real. The only purpose of this is to share these truth teachings, which is what the New Thought movement has always been about. But a lot of it has leaned towards like, how are we going to make money? And so they start to compromise some of their principles in order to do that. We do our best to not do that. So the little things you can do to be a part of this and share it with other people, or review it, or like it, or subscribe, and comment on it. All of that stuff just helps the people who really need. That's why we do it this way. We want the people who really need it, like we needed it. I needed the real version of it, not some compromised version where someone was trying to sell me something. So we just do our best each week to bring that through ourselves, our readings, and our guests, to share this in a way that you can actually directly apply right now and get your own soul singing and appreciating your life and watch things take off. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I actually was going to say exactly what's from the book about hurry.
Oh, let's hear that.
And I have one little line that's in another piece of paper in my briefcase, but it doesn't matter. This is the gist of it. Ed said the main thing, but if you get the book, Your Invisible Power, or you don't really need to get the book for this point because we're going to share it right here. She says, hurry is fear and consequently destructive. And it should be totally eradicated, or she calls it totally banished.
Yeah.
Hurry is a belief in lack. Whenever you catch like I'm doing this, becoming aware. Whenever I catch myself hurrying, it's easy for me to see, this is a belief in lack.
Yeah.
A lack of time. But it starts permeating everything when we start.
Yeah.
And the part that we often overlook is hurry is fear and consequently destructive. Meaning whenever we're hurried, we're not going to get to where we want to go any faster or efficiently or effectively.
Right. It also underestimates when I'm feeling that way. Like we've talked about this from David Schwartz recently, which is when I'm in a hurry, I am not thinking of myself as an important person.
No.
I'm thinking of myself as a victim of someone else or some schedule I'm supposed to worship, and I got to get there, otherwise I'm going to get in trouble. And it doesn't matter if I'm being like. And then it's also the way I'm treating others doesn't matter as much as long as I get there. As long as I think it's so when you really sort of like tease it out, and instead of it just being this little funny unconscious thing that I do, and it's just what I do. It's just for me, when I start to investigate within myself where it's coming from, oh my God, what a relief to be able to unhook from that and realize that by taking my time, the people that I thought were judging me, I end up loving them more. They end up loving me more. I end up letting them off the hook. There's just so much good that comes from unhooking from it. That's like, in the moment when we're in that fear bubble, it doesn't seem like it could possibly be okay for us to slow down and be kind and loving. But the thing is, when we do, we not only bless ourselves, but we bless everyone we encounter that day, because everyone on the planet inside really does want to be released from this false sense of fear and urgency and be in a state of appreciation. Because we're not in these bodies for that long, everyone. And so we don't want to miss it by hurrying out of fear, down, and worry, and miss the things we came here to do, which is to enjoy and share our gifts and celebrate life. So did you have something else to read?
Yeah, this is also stuff that came up. When we slow down, when my mind's at peace, the little phrase I made for myself is, when my mind's at peace, God goes to work. Doesn't mean God isn't always working, but when I'm hurrying, I'm slowing down the flow. It's like the saying in the Bible, in biblical terms, it would be stand aside and see the solution of the Lord. I don't need a rush to make it happen.
That's right.
I can back off. And another thing that came up during the prosperity class is in these times when we feel hurried, we could ask the angels to go to work for us. And Nancy Norman said they're eager to help, they're unemployed and eager to help.
Right, because so many people aren't calling on them.
Yes.
That's why she said unemployed. A lot of them are unemployed.
And a good tool she recommends, and we recommend, which I did the other day and it worked, is, okay, angels, instead of me rushing or cracking down on myself or making, I was consciously being kind to myself, backing off, like, okay, this is all going to come together, and I'm going to use this new affirmation that I just heard. Okay, angels, let's see what you can do here.
Yes.
Dare these angels to go to work. And then I step aside and look. And this is the fun part, because then my consciousness went from fear, doubt, and worry to looking forward to seeing what good these mysterious angels are going to bring about, how this thing is going to work out.
Yes.
And once your mind clicks over, that's the appreciation side of the equation that today's episode is all about. Because once our mind gets into appreciation, now that divine flow, and appreciation is a peaceful state of mind. It's an enthusiastic, it's a relaxed confidence, a relaxed enthusiasm that the things are going to come about and I don't have to meddle and I could just do what's in front of me to do.
Yes.
That great, wonderful feeling. I go throughout my day just knowing everything's going to be coming together. The angels are at work. God's at
100%.
work. And man, the best news is that if I'm not in that state, I can get into that mental state by simply, if I'm not in it, appreciating the things I already have.
Yes, big time.
Because the mind works both ways.
Yeah.
Like William James said, an attitude leads your mood. Well, a certain mood will generate a certain physical action.
Right.
If we're happy, we tend to act a certain way. If we're confident, we tend to act a certain way.
Yes.
But the biggest discovery that he said was the greatest discovery is that your actions can also affect your moods.
Yeah. Yeah, Schwartz calls it like mechanically shifting our mind. And I want to say one thing that I liked about, because I remember Nancy emphasized that part. When we call on the angels, then switch into looking around and seeing like joyfully. Yeah. This is what the definition of faith is, joyful anticipation or joyful expectation. So look around and with a state of joyful expectation, and in the one good thing to do during that time is just to appreciate the simple things that you're what is healthy about yourself, how much, like what is going well in your prosperity or your finances. Are you with friends, or like we're in CHOBO? Those are things that we can do that open up the channel to receive what the angels are doing, because something will happen. A couple times this week, like just the strangest little things would happen for me where I was thinking, saying a word, and then Darrell said the same word, or those little things that just let you know that you are divinely connected and supported are huge. And huge. I got a great quote from Reverend Ike just yesterday when I was on YouTube, and my thing was being flooded by all this stuff that I didn't want to see, so I started going, how can I get this YouTube channel, my page flooded with stuff I want? So I was like, Reverend Ike. So I started watching Ike. I put in anything I could think of, baseball, like swimming, anything that I could get that would give me like positive things.
The algorithm you're talking about. Yeah, because
like it's crazy how the YouTube thing, how quickly it responds to anything you
Even if your mouse goes over something, it goes, ooh, he has an interest in this. I'm like, no, I don't want any more of that.
But the thing is, that's exactly actually how our mind works.
Yeah.
When we focus on what we appreciate, we find more to appreciate.
It's amazing.
It really is. And then there's chemicals that are associated with that.
Even better. Not only are we just finding more things to appreciate, it's because the material world always mimics the spiritual world. The scientific just brings evidence to the principles that exist. But it's even better because it's exactly like how the YouTube, Instagram algorithms work.
Yep.
As soon as we show a little interest in something,
that's right,
it starts serving it to us more and more. Like literally, physically, materially, we start getting those situations, circumstances delivered to us in our everyday true life existence.
Yeah, because we're magnetically pulling them into our awareness, and it's amazing. So I just want to read this quote from Reverend Ike.
Because then I got to read it, because this goes with the thought germs.
Yeah. So,
thought germs. Ooh.
Reverend Ike, who I came to save my soul on YouTube yesterday. One cool thing he said, I forget the name. I think it was like how to change negative beliefs or something. And the quote was, in spiritual science, mind science, or whatever you want to call it, you work to learn that you don't have to work.
Yeah.
You work to learn that you don't have to work. And he laughs and goes, ha, isn't that easy? You work to learn that the work is already done. Isn't that something? Even in the old Christian theology, the work is already done. And he's talking about how Christ in the theology has already done the work to create this sense of divinity, to reconnect you with your divinity. So the whole message is to cooperate. That's what that Jesus was all about. He was saying, stop working so hard by your human efforts, and start walking with Spirit, and start experiencing, receiving, and celebrating and participating in the work that life and God has already done for you. Like, join the party now. Stop trying to make the party happen. Relax, become the party, appreciate the people around you, become the light.
Well, like Reverend Ike would say, we're not talking about some pie in the sky sometime after I die.
By and by.
By and by. No, I want my pie now with ice cream and chocolate syrup on top.
That's right.
But that's why Jesus never begged. He never did begging. This is the craziest thing. All the prayers I learned or overheard as a kid are, oh, please, please, but you probably won't, but please.
Yeah.
But that's not. Every time Jesus taught prayer, it was thank in advance. Like you already have it now.
That's right.
And this has been confirmed in psychological by psychology in those arenas, as well as in business arenas, that by getting yourself into the state or the ideal, they say the ideal image or the ideal outcome, that means the best idea of visualization you have. That's what ideal means. It means you've already visualized that idea, the best possible idea that you would like. That's the ideal outcome. And that's why we give thanks in advance, and that's why this episode is a tankful of thankful. Because if you just start thanking in advance, even in appreciating what you already have, then that starts building. Like it's not just a academic exercise. Oh, I'm going to do a gratitude. You should do a gratitude list. Send it to 20 of your friends. No, we do a gratitude list. You could do it mentally, right? You could do it while you're driving.
100%.
You could do it in a conversation with a friend when we're just appreciating. Oh my God, imagine, can you believe this happened and that happened?
Yeah, connect the dots.
Connecting the dots, Ed and I call it, about what happened during the day or the timing, the perfect timing, how something worked out. That's a gratitude list. The key component of that is, or the byproduct or the side effect is, my vibration transforms to that health, that feeling of vitality, well-being. Yeah. It's promoting health within me, but it's not just stopping with my body. It is now moving out, and it's magnetic.
Yeah.
This force is magnetic.
No, before you read that, I got to tell you something.
Good. We got something good.
Because you just said something that just opened my mind to the word ideal. Because what I realized in the past is when I was feeling down, I would somewhat sit around and wait, even now, like recently, wait for something good to happen, wait for myself to somehow improve. But when you said ideal, what I've been realizing, my friend calls it like stepping up to the podium of your reality and start sending the angels out to handle this.
Yes.
Start affirming that good is happening. Yeah. Start blessing everything, and start but what I like the word ideal is that because now I deal the cards. I'm not dealing with things. I start to deal the cards.
Yes.
I like that version of ideal because it gives me something. And that's what all these principles and these teachings are about is there is no time where God is telling me that I need to sit and suffer until I've learned my lesson. No, the lesson is to stop suffering and start sharing, start blessing, start living.
Yes.
Because you often quote the thing that says, I think it's from Freud or someone that said that guilt when people do something that they feel guilty about, the guilt was actually present before the act ever happened.
And that's what actually caused them to act, or me or you, in that way, because it starts becoming a self-fulfilling motivation. Oh, you feel guilty? Well, then here's something that'll make you feel, and it just reinforces it.
So I think the end vision of like psychology and any self-help is a world where everyone's sharing and dealing the cards that they want to deal, sharing their gifts and their good with the world. So the sooner we can get into that, because that's health, it's circulation. It's instead of holding in and wondering why I didn't, like I get in this state where my mind is like, if my mom and dad would have supported me to be like continue playing clarinet. That was the other thing the other day. I would have been great at clarinet. I'd be happy now. It's like all that stuff that just keeps me holding in the light. It's like instead of affirming, no, all that stuff happened perfectly, and now I'm in the perfect place to. Right now, I'm in the perfect place to share my gifts in whatever way feels good right now. It's crazy the stories that I've come up with in the past about why I can't share my good, or why I got to hold it in, or why I got to stay small. It's all nonsense. And so ideal means I get to deal the cards.
Yeah, that's funny. I was thinking if I even attempted to play the clarinet, my father would have been so ashamed that I was playing the clarinet, he would have broken over his knee.
Yeah.
Instead of not encouraging you.
I love the clarinet,
Dude,
man.
like, what the hell is this?
Dude, you would have loved the clarinet.
I would have loved
the smell
anything.
of that wax on the cork, man, and the reeds.
I would have loved
my God.
anything. But the thing you're driving home is we cannot go back either and say, you know what I mean? This is, we're letting you know, neither one of us, we don't linger. We may think those thoughts, if only this happened this way, if only. But the reason Ed's bringing it up is to drive home the point that it's funny to us only because we both work to not linger in that.
And it's funny because I was really thinking that.
Yeah.
And it was literally like felt terrible, you know, like it was, and that's why we laugh on this show is because we're releasing this stuff. If you're thinking this stuff, this is not like, okay, I used to be this like obsessive guy. Can't think that, can't do that. And it's, just admit you're thinking it.
Yeah, because
you're around, like
yes.
even if you're just writing it out for yourself or you share it with someone else,
yes.
with the intention of bringing it into the light and letting it go. But sometimes you
yes.
just gotta let that
You
stuff
gotta
rip
let
and
it out.
acknowledge, like, this is what I'm really thinking. What a relief! What a relief!
Well, because if we don't bring it up, it doesn't move out of us and move away.
That's right.
Well, you know, it's funny. That you bring
And we
this
all
up.
do
Wait,
it, so you may as well admit it.
Do you know what you said? Like, these thoughts, we don't want to think them, but they come up like, oh, if my parents only, I could have been better than Kenny G with the clarinet.
Right.
Well, so because I was in the military, so at the VA they're always checking to see if you have PTSD.
Right.
So one of the questions is, do you think of things that you don't necessarily want to think about? And I go, what? That's like meaning like that's like the clarinet and stuff that make it, that bring you down or disappointed about your life. Right. And I'm going, wait a minute, is this a trick question? Doesn't everyone do that? Right. It's like, because you might be suffering from PTSD. But my mind went, oh my God, I do. Like in that moment, I went, I do. I think of things I don't want to think about, times I don't want to revisit. Happens all the time. You know, and I had to go, Darrell, relax.
Dude, there's 1 minute left.
Okay. Well, we got to do our 3 breaths.
We got things to do. Do we tell people how to be a member of the Funniest Thing Club real quick?
I'll tell them real quick because they're probably already a member. We're just a group of ambassadors of God's love.
Yes. And
this is the thing. We consciously radiate love. I should reframe that by intending to consciously.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you get excited that Will Rubio is on the show, folks.
You're blushing.
Yes. As we consciously radiate love, we perform everyday miracles and experience better than expected outcomes. If you're already living this way or strive to, then you can consider yourself a member. And here's the thing. We motivate one another by simply sharing how these miracles occur naturally in our circumstances as the result of living lovingly and expectantly.
Yes.
You know, another definition for faith is joyous expectancy.
That's
folks.
right. Thank you to the Patreon contributors, and we bless those contributions. It's really amazing that you are part of this ministry with us, and people are coming to us all the time. My cousin, this person that says, I listen to your show every morning. It really gets me started in the right foot. So if you're contributing to that. You're contributing to CHOBO Studios. So if you're not,
you're helping other people because a lot of other people are able to listen to this.
That's right. This is an amazing thing that's going to continue. We appreciate you being a part of that. If you go to patreon.com/funniest thing, you can contribute $3 a month. If you do that, we've been doing a Tuesday prosperity Zoom class that you can be a part of.
That we record. So even if you join the party late and just now become a Patreon partner with us, you will be able to watch all those prosperity workshop videos that we've done.
Grace Deathridge said, accepting our divine heritage of abundant good. Love this. Thank you all for sharing. And that was from the Zoom call.
That's from the UK.
That's right. Thank you to Jeff Comfort in Kansas City, Kansas. He's our audio guy. Each week, he takes us right into the comfort zone. And our man, Indy, right here at CHOBO Studios. How are you, sir?
Doing great. On fire. Hanging out with Will Rubio. He's doing a Zen garden over there at his table. It's
I
amazing.
did. Do you want to see it?
Yes, we do. Let's take a look.
Wow.
Nice.
All right, you get an A for effort, Will. Very good.
Yes, Will Rubio is a known aphrodisiac. All right, let's do our breaths to get started here. This is a little preview of what's to come later in the show, right? Because you really gotta turn into just a maniac with this stuff.
And I got one Kirky before we go to
Okay, ready? I'm a praise-iac on the floor. And I'm dancing like I've never danced before.
I'm a praise-iac on the floor. And I'm dancing like I've never danced before. I'm a praise-iac on the floor. And I'm dancing like I've never danced before.
Beautiful. What do you got from Kirky?
I have one card that's worth rereading.
Yes, let's hear it.
Wait, I had one here. We got lots, but we don't have time.
We got a ton of Kirkies, man. Look at these Kirkies. Oh, there's a Conklin, too. She said, guided by the spirit within, I let go of all fear of doubt. I make wise choices that bring positive results. That is so true. I adjust to changing circumstances with ease and grace. That's a unity prayer. We'll be at my granddaughter's wedding in Madison, Wisconsin when you get this card. Thanks for your weekly inspiration from CHOBO Studios. Love to all, Lois Conklin. We love you, Lois Sieg. Hop on the YouTube. You can see these beautiful postcards Lois makes for us.
And if you want to send us stuff, it's Funniest Thing, mail we're talking about. Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, Zion 0232. Kirky sent us some good old-timey daily words from 1987 and 88 when I was reading them 30-something years ago while I was in the Coast Guard. Work hard, play hard, eat a huge pizza. That's a great suggestion by Kirky. But this is what I want to read for everyone listening to this show, including myself. You ready, Ed?
Let's hear it.
The voice that calls you a fraud is the real fraud. That's by Alan Cohen. This is on a Kirky card. Let me repeat, Kirky said. The voice that calls you a fraud is the real fraud.
Oh, my God. How about this one from Kirky? When you seek a person or thing to fulfill your emptiness, you only feel emptier. When you recognize your wholeness. This is what appreciation really is all about. You feel whole. When you recognize your wholeness and find your fulfillment within you, the universe has miraculous ways of supplying what you want and need. It's themastermatch.com. Thank you, Alan Cohn. Thank you, Kirky. Coming up next, Praise-iac and actor, comedian, dancer, Will Rubio gets everyone grinning and a winning with today's reading, God Directed. Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from CHOBO Studios.
Welcome back to the second segment of Tank Full of Thankful with our guest, Will Rubio.
He's right here, folks.
Tank Full of Thankful with your guest, Will Rubio, right here, folks.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that beard. Cheers, everyone.
I'm very excited to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. What number is this? This is like 3 or 4?
Yeah, of you being here, it's got to be. It's at least 3, maybe probably 4, eh?
It may be 4.
Yeah.
It may be 4. I'm like the.
You know what, though?
Considering you were not our
of-
first choice, this is amazing.
We got a great story.
Wow.
But you know what? It's kind of like.
There's a reason though for it. There's actually a reason.
Yeah.
For it.
Wait, can I know who's the
we're
most?
Wait, we're gonna tell you the whole
It's
story.
not what you think.
But even though this is your 4th time in the language of foreigner, it feels like the first time.
Feels like the.
It still feels like a first night together. Is that not what we're
No,
saying?
feels like the first time. Feels like the very first time.
Yeah. But I like what you did with that.
I was singing Bryan Adams, Canadian sensation.
Yeah.
It still
Just because he's from
feels.
Canada, you
Where's
call
that
him a
Richard
foreigner?
Marx? Am
Just
I from
because
Canada?
Bryan Adams
No.
is from Canada, you call him a foreigner. You assume we're talking about him.
Well, yeah. All those, you incepted me. He's a foreigner from Canada, and he has that beautiful, delightful love rock ballad from.
Yeah. Did he do the Summer of '69?
Yes, he did. In the summer of '69. Yeah.
That song was nothing what Indy thought it was going to be when he saw the title.
So wait, are we going to
Summer
let
Love.
the cat out of the bag, or are we going to do the reading?
What is going on? Let the cat out of the bag.
Let the cat out of the
because
bag.
I am.
Okay, so several years ago,
We discovered. We've
We-
talked about this before.
yeah,
how you
we discovered
like,
randomly discovered Random Acts only because
That's right.
I was cat sitting
Yeah.
for a neighbor and I couldn't figure out their remote, so I ended up watching Random Acts.
And he starts telling all of us, and we're like, "What the hell is Bizarro talking about? BYU TV."
They didn't know what. They thought, what happened to Fazar? He's watching BYU TV.
It slightly angered me. I thought it was a joke. And then he kept watching, and then I watched.
I said,
We
you got to
hooked.
watch this. Yeah, and it was during COVID, right?
Right before COVID.
Right before COVID. And so I was like, oh, man, these people are so nice. Wouldn't it be great to have one of them on the show?
Yes.
So I started, and I'm talking about the host or someone from the
Yeah.
production team.
Yes.
Because the spirit of the show is fantastic. We highly recommend it.
Random Acts, BYU TV. There's a free app you can download. The shows are amazing, high quality. There's no come down. It's just pure feel good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through the cast of characters, and this is a bad habit
Of yours?
to break and to make.
Okay, so we see the list, right? And we're ranking them by handsomeness, fame level, and such.
Wow.
Just know
You
that.
see the list of what? Of
the
the
cast
hosts
members.
on the show?
No, so
Yeah.
what? Yeah, so
So
what?
you go on IMDb and,
Yeah.
you're going through.
no, not even IMDb. I don't
I
know
think
where.
maybe
I
on
said-
BYU TV.
BYU
on
TV.
the website.
So
all
I'm
right.
thinking. So my mind's thinking, it's just
Who do we
me.
think we can land?
Yeah, because it's just Darrell and Ed. This shows you, like, God always has better intentions for us. I just saw a picture of myself from 30 years ago when I was in the Coast Guard in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You saw the picture.
Oh yeah.
Handsome
I'm-
devil.
Yeah, and I'm
In an amazing, in front of an
I'm
amazing sports car overlooking the ocean.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, I go,
I'll send that over to
how
Indy.
how God, like, how they say, like, God is always taking care of us.
Yeah.
Like, if I knew then how wonderful my life was going to turn out throughout the years that followed, but we think we're not sure, and we feel uncertain, and we feel insecure, and and we're judging ourselves so critically, and I'm going, man, it really proves, just like the story I'm going to tell about how we ended up with you, that we really tend to downplay the truth about ourselves and our potential and our future.
and about how amazing our lives are in the present.
Yes, in the present. Because
Sure.
I'm looking at it, I go, look at me. So here's the thing. I go through the list and I go, well, the main guy was, Will
Yeah, we were
Rubio.
actually at Unity of the West Side, is sitting in chairs talking about this.
Yeah. And I go, well,
Getting the inside scoop right now.
yeah, I'm
This is
going, well,
exciting.
Will Rubio, he's one of the main people on the show.
Yeah.
So we
We
kind
kind
of,
of crossed off that tier.
Where did I fall on the handsome list that
Top.
you made?
Top.
Right at the top?
That's
Yeah.
why we were like, not
Good to know.
We were like too big a fish.
yeah.
Let's go down the list.
You're like the perfect blend of,
Oh, God, here we go. You do look like an action figure that my brother and I used to have. He wore a brown shirt, and he was like the dad of like some like scientific exploration team. Actually, I still have that figure somewhere.
yeah, you're like Tony Curtis meets Ricky Ricardo. It's
This-
the perfect.
This is why I come on this podcast.
Well, I'm just saying this for the sake of the
Jeez.
people that don't see the show on
If you-
YouTube.
this is
Oh,
a great
okay.
reason to hop on YouTube. If you haven't,
So
been
that
there
being
yet.
said, I'm looking. Well, the main people on the show, they're probably very busy. So there was a guy who had just started appearing, because I was also thinking of people in the production team. Maybe the producer wanted to come on and talk about how he came up with this.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
it's so positive. The
And
show.
when he says "I," this is we were there. I was
Yeah.
there. Just
Yeah.
just put me in the mental picture.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, we're talking. So later on, though, I called you and I said, no.
No. First, we reached out.
First
to
we-
Mason.
This is a great story, guys.
Well, 'cause-
This is the long way around saying first we tried to land Mason.
but with a reason,
Oh,
though.
okay.
There was a reason for
Yeah.
Mason, because he because he was only on the show like sporadically then, and I go, oh, he's one of the writers. He'll probably
And he did art.
He did art.
Mason's one of the most talented, loving, amazing human beings.
Yeah, this
Totally.
isn't. We're not being disparaging about Mason at all.
No,
but
How
we're just-
dare you?
No, we were just thinking that he's not
He
as
seemed
busy.
like the more accessible.
Accessible.
From what the little bits we could see from at that time.
and how our minds worked. He seemed accessible. So, he's on Instagram. I reach out, and we sent him something. We never heard back. But in the meantime, I looked up Will Rubio on Instagram. And on there was a way to, you could contact, message, whatever.
Sure.
So I tell Ed, hey, it looks like it's easy to contact Will Rubio. We haven't heard from Mason. What do we got to lose? What do you think? And he's just like, yeah, give him a call. Click. So I don't know if Ed thought I was really going to do it or not.
I did not think this was all going to pan out, to be honest.
So I end up
This is still very early with the whole me growing in acceptance that we're watching BYU TV. Right, like all this is, so it's like one of Fazzaro's crazy things. Sure, go ahead, call Will Rubio. Bye.
yeah, not believing it. So about 15, 20 minutes later, I call Ed back and I go, yeah, I talked to Will. He said he'll do the show.
Yeah.
And Ed's like, what? I go, yeah. I just gave him a call on his contact number and he picked up. I told him about the show and he said he'd be on it. He goes, wow.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We doubted what God had planned for us.
That's right.
Because if we really believed, because you would have been the person that we would have thought would be the greatest person from what we saw on the show, because we knew your personality from the show.
Yeah, the first choice. You would have been
the first choice. But we said no.
You sold yourselves short.
Sold ourselves. But the great news is God did for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. And instead of being like, oh, well, Mason won't do it, so why even call anyone? You know what I mean? Like, if Mason won't even do it, it's this whole idea is probably out of our league.
Right.
Let's write it off. But the little twinkling of, well, why, like that? This
that
is
little intuitive nudge came.
the little
through.
intuitive stuff. And here, this is something important for everyone, and I'm sure you'll share on this too. The God-given nudge, that first inspired idea.
That easy first
That fun,
feel-good idea.
that thing that goes, woo! That's the God voice. The problem is, and this goes with that reading, the other voice comes in and goes, well, who do you think you are? Really? Come on.
Yeah.
Back off, pal. That's crazy.
Right.
Don't bother. Or that's silly. Or if you're going to do it, maybe you better start here. That's the fraud voice. That's the voice that Kirk sent on the postcard. The voice that's discouraging you is the fraud. Because I could have just as easily just went, hey, I'm inspired. Should we just ask this guy? Because you were the first guy I saw on the show. I actually believed the show I saw, I'll never forget it, because I had no idea what the show was. I just turned on the TV, and there's this guy at the beach,
Right.
and it's like a middle-aged man, and he never rode a bike before. And I'm going,
Oh, I remember that. That's the
And I'm
first part
going-
I saw also.
And it looked real. I believed it was real. So I go, this poor guy. And I go, look, people are coming and actually helping. I go, this is amazing.
And look at us now. Now I am the most appearing guest on the Funniest Thing podcast.
Whoa.
Well, am I not?
We are.
Well, of course.
Indy.
The guest who-
Indy's become the most appeared guest.
Heck yeah, dude.
Unintentional guest.
Yeah,
know
you're
what?
you're the
I
Alec
tried to
Baldwin.
build myself
no,
up, and
you're
you
the
guys-
Alec Baldwin
of SNL, but on the Funniest Thing podcast.
Yes.
The 5 times, the 5-timer club, I think will come the next time that I appear. But after this beratement, I think that this is it, guys. I'm never coming back.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't ever bring a prop gun onto the set here.
Oh, geez.
Oh, God.
Too soon.
Whoa, dark turn from producer Indy.
My bad, I'll cut it.
No. Come on, man. That's good quality
Cut
content.
all Alec Baldwin stuff.
Cut it into a reel and get it up now.
Guys,
so
I really
what's going
appreciate. I really appreciate that and the friendship that we've developed over the years.
Yeah.
I think that we all do have a tendency to sell ourselves short and to, not listen to what I believe is our genuine selves. I feel that, interestingly, the thoughts that arise, in some cases, both negative and positive, can be. Not that they can lead us astray, but ultimately, I feel like what's benefited me in my life is to treat everything and, as a result, everybody with equanimity. Like, there's nothing that elevates me above you or anybody else that I encounter. Mm-hmm. And when we, in a sense, release all of that, release all these stimuli that come at us, whether they are building up or puffing up our ego or tearing us down, just let it all go and observe it and essentially look inward. Because what I've learned is we're not our thoughts, we're not our feelings, we're not our external trappings. If I have a ton of stuff or money or looks or whatever it is, I'm not any of these things. So what am I? My thoughts are just something that I'm observing, and that can lead me out of this present moment into anxiety. What's going to happen if I call Will, which to me is like so silly, right? But what's going to happen? Or no, that's not going to work out. So I'm living in the future. I'm living in anxiety, or the guilt of what could have been, like looking back on that picture and thinking like, oh man, if I had only done this, right? Living in those spaces brings about this anxiety, and when we're able to like release it all and go like, oh, I'm just here, and this is beautiful, this connection. Like, what do I feel right now? And like living in this polarity of this interaction or this moment right now is such a beautiful thing when we can release all these things that we build up on in our minds. You know what I mean? So thank you for having me back here, and thanks for being just such great people who take the time to do this for no other reason than to lift other people up and to help people see the light that's inside of them. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you for that. What you just shared is powerful. It's the basis for basically the whole spiritual psychology program, the master's program I went to, which is that there's this world of polarity. And I mean, this is spirituality 101, but it was cool to study it through this kind of like framework. What you call our authentic self is always there. This like fully whole, that field that Rumi described, beyond right and wrong. There's a field, which is love. I'll meet you there, right? So the problem is when we get stuck between these trying to identify with a right or a wrong, or the one part of us that's super anxious and the other part that's like, I just want to be calm. And it's just like, when we're stuck in that level, we're stuck in this back and forth and we can't be whole. So what we have to do is something to on a regular basis reconnect with our authentic whole self, if you will. So my question is, what do you do to connect with that authentic self? What are some of the things that you do?
I read a definition of presence the other day that really stuck with me and I really enjoyed, and it was the embodied awareness of our mental, emotional, and physical state, or something like that. So being here, right? And there's general practices that help with presence, whether that's focusing on something, focusing on the breath, focusing on gravity, like feeling your body where it is. And I've learned those practices for me, it's been meditation. Meditation has been a huge thing because you can practice just being. You can practice being an observer. And oftentimes what I realized was a couple years ago when I started getting into this practice was that, I live my life with a low-level anxiety. Like I am always in this state of analysis and in this duality, essentially. And all the books that I'd read trying to figure out essentially how to feel worthy, how to gain a self-esteem for whatever reason, we're treating the symptoms of the core problem, which was just identifying with all these things versus just acceptance and release, accepting everything as it is, taking what is it called, radical responsibility for everything that happens in your life,
right?
Is like this acceptance. And I think part of that for me has been ultimately what it is. It's been my journey back to God, because I went through like this intense deconstruction and this crisis of faith, and I would say very recently have come back to God in this really cool way, and God, what I've discovered is surrender. Like, it is surrender. And as I've studied different spiritual traditions in this like confusion that I've experienced over the last few years, I see these similar threads that run through all of these traditions that ultimately give people a sense of peace in a world that is in constant frenetic turmoil and just anxiety ultimately, right? So I do things that connect me to myself, that help me to remember to release. And for me, that's walking. Like I take a walk. I try to get out and get in the sun. Being in nature is very important. So like literally go to the park and do my reading in the park. Reading a book that's going to help further connect it, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, something that's going to help me connect me to myself and increase my level of awareness. And then meditation, as I said, is a huge, awesome thing. So yeah, that's how I connect. Just reading, meditation, and it's been very beneficial to me. And just to touch on this idea of God and this concept of surrender, I recently went to a couple. I have a really great friend. His name's Joey. You should have him on the podcast. He's an actor, talented musician, like awesome dude. Yeah. And we have these conversations in this vein. And being able to talk to somebody in that way is such a beautiful blessing. You guys have each other that you constantly bounce these ideas off of, and it resonates. And you're like, oh yeah, it's like holding up a mirror to each other to be able to continue to release all these constructs of the self that we've placed on each other, right? And Joey, he said this one thing that has stuck with me, and it's it's the gift is already given, right? Like what we want is already given. Like it has already, in a sense, happened. Yeah. Like what will be. And so anything that we're placing on top of trying to construct it and trying to control it in any way is futile. Yes. Because what is yours will be yours. Yeah. And what is not meant for you will not be, despite whatever it is that you're like trying to construct and trying to control and trying to do, right? And if as you identify all these aspects or these areas of your life, whether it be professionally or physically or all these things, like if you're just constantly, I gotta lose weight, I gotta be healthy, and like you're trying to control it in some sense, versus releasing and allowing, like listening to yourself, being grounded. It's a difficult thing, and it takes practice. It takes, it takes effort in a sense, but it's not the effort that I think a lot of people get caught in. It's an effort to like work on it's all inward, right? Yeah. And we want to do the external thing. Yeah. We want to always like, whether it's get external validation or external trappings that like make me feel like I have value, versus releasing the very ideas that these things bring me value, right? And so that it can live within inside me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
There's so much there.
Yeah, I am excited because You just put into words exactly what I was trying to describe when I saw the photo of myself 30 years ago. What I was trying to say is exactly what Joey said. If I knew I already had the gift, I would have been a lot more relaxed between then and now, and things would have worked out just as wonderfully. It's almost like you could have just relaxed.
Yeah.
You could have just...
But you're learning, right?
No, I'm learning.
That's the
And another thing is when you're saying about meditation, I relate it to it's really what it does is it's so ironic, and like all these spiritual ideas, most of them are paradoxical, meaning I got to give it away to keep it. You know what I mean? And this one is when I get in that state, when I'm meditating or I'm in tune with the real me, my authentic self, it's a very healthy form of detachment that makes me feel at one with everyone. That's the paradox.
Yeah.
I'm detached from all that I got to impress or do or make or get. And now I find, holy cow, I'm at one with, I love everybody in that moment.
Yep.
And the opposite is true when we're doing what a lot of, misguided business approach or academic approach to living, which is work hard, move things out of your way to get there. The means justify the end. Thinking that when I get to the end, I'm going to be in harmony with everyone and everyone's going to approve of me because now I'm wealthy, successful, and I'm doing what I love. But here's the thing. If I'm not enjoying the journey, it's never going to feel good. Because like Joey said, once we realize we already had the gift, well then, let's just enjoy the footwork moving towards these inspired aspirations that we could say God put in our head or our ideal self put in our head that feel good. And there's a difference between, I call it an ego inspiration versus something from, like you said, my genuine self, which is a genius idea because genius, the origin is genuine. Geniuses are just genuine. Go ahead.
What's this release of it's release of attachment to outcome. Like I'm not going to, and it is, and I think we've talked about this before, but it is like this beautiful space, and I think in relation to the gospel, there are these parallels that are quite beautiful as well, because you release attachment to outcome. There's nothing that you can do or need to do to be worthy and to be just
what
valued,
a relief.
right?
Yes.
So like by faith are you saved, not of works, least any man should boast, right? Like or by grace, like grace. That's the grace of God.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing you have to do. But then it becomes like, okay, well, this is the gift. The gift is already given. So what do I do with this gift, right?
That's
and
right.
and what do I put out into the world without attachment to outcome?
Yeah.
And it's this paradox that we live in. I release control, and I feel like I have more control in this weird way. Like it's
heaven.
Yeah. It is heaven. It's the kingdom of heaven on earth. Because no matter what happens, good or bad,
I've been in those moments.
I'm going to be able to handle it. Yeah.
There's so much that we could unpack from what you were just talking about. Because one of the things is that I just looking this is why I grabbed the phone, because there's a Bible verse, Matthew 6:6-7, where he says, "When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." And it's such a mentally based universe. Thought is unseen. So the thoughts that we're having is, and there's a reason why this is called your temple, because when we go into the temple to be with the Father, who
tell the people who are listening, he's pointing at his temples on his head.
Yeah, the temple on your head.
Yeah.
And Neville Goddard calls your Father your imagination. That because one of the things that this Bible also says, the kingdom of God is within you. So we go inside to reconnect, and what Charles Fillmore called spiritualize our consciousness, which for me is when I reconnect with my divinity, my authentic self. Suddenly, everything about my ego, my mind, body, and emotions becomes spiritually charged. I feel energized and whole rather than rather than overly identified with just the mental, emotional, and body part. I feel a much deeper connection to everything. And so when you were talking about attachment, what it made me realize is, so the kingdom is within. All of this stuff is really being born within us on this unseen plane. And it comes out and we experience it. When I get attached, if I forget that it came from within, I start trying to grab onto things that are fleeting out here, forgetting that they were born within me and that there's an abundance more, and there will be many more of these to come. Not only that, but it will get better, because as I release it, I get even more clear about who I am, where my good comes from, my own value, my own worth. Then I begin blessing all of these things instead of trying to get from them. Little did I know that these things were born out of the goodness of my own heart. So when I become like the ruler or the king or like just the important person in my own life, I begin, like you said, now I'm blessing everything from a place of already having and already being, which is amazing that I read that quote from Reverend Ike, because that's what he was saying. All this mental work, which is so weird because we're working on something you can't even see, your thoughts, is to get to the point to realize that the work was already done, that the Christ within us has already done this work long before, if you want to call it the Christ, already did this long before we even arrived. And our job is to come. We are divinely supported and to bring the light to the world. We become the light of the world when I stop.
Ye are the light of the world.
Yes.
Ye are the light. This is a little Godspell for you.
Yeah, there you go, man. That's beautiful.
This is what I wanted to say. How I could tell, this is all, everything works in divine order on this show. We didn't read anything we thought we were going to read. We didn't discuss what we thought we were going to discuss. And we discussed and read everything we're supposed to. And I was going to say, how do I know the difference between my ego-inspired thoughts, and I'm not saying the ego's bad in any respect, but I'm just saying, hear me out, and maybe you'll agree or maybe you'll disagree, and the God-inspired. How do I know that? Am I going in the right direction? For me, it becomes clearer and clearer every year by falling for the ego inspiration versus what I call the God-inspired, or the true self-inspired, whatever you like to call it, or higher-powered inspired. And it's this. The ego one is, this is a great idea because it's going to lead to, this must be God's will for me because blink, blink, blink. Like you said, I'm seeing how this inspired, it feels like a little high, but it's not really a super high. Yeah. There's a big difference. The God-inspired idea, I can say it's electrifying, and at its core is, and this is going to sound childish, but I believe it's childlike. It's like, this will be fun for me right now to do this thing, meaning whatever it is in this moment, it's not attached to, and it probably will do this. Those ideas might come up, but they're fleeting. The ones that go, this will probably lead. As soon as they take over, though, the ones that go, oh, yeah, and then you know what you could do with it. Because, it's like I'll do a painting, and I'm so high just because I did it, and I love it for myself, and I was high in the process. The trouble comes when a well-intentioned person or one of my own thoughts goes, yeah, but now what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, weren't.
Right.
Because it goes into, you see what I mean? It goes into
the
attachment rather than living in that state. Because the truth is, every time something good out of something I've done through inspiration, it's always come out of left field because I was enjoying doing the inspired idea that was just for me. It's really me treating my divine self in the moment. That's why it's a God-inspired idea. Right. Because it feels good in that moment. It's a healthy expression of God's love coming through me. Mm-hmm. And as I'm doing it, it's healing me in the process.
Yeah.
I think, and the question of like, how do I know if it's ego-based or not is an important one, and it's a vital one. And I think the more practice you do and time you spend with yourself, the more you hone that skill of understanding what it is that you genuinely need in that moment. And if we have time, I have a story.
Let's do it. Yes, let's hear the story.
This happened to me a few weeks ago. I got robbed, and I robbed myself. I was scammed. And I started the morning. I woke up. Sometimes it's difficult. I have difficulty sleeping, and I woke up like at 5, just before sunrise, and I thought, well, I could sit here for a couple hours trying to go back to sleep, or I could take a hike or something. So I was like, I'm going to go watch the sunrise. And I hiked to the top of I don't know if you've ever done the Wisdom Tree hike here in Los Angeles, but
sounds good.
It's awesome. And you go up to like the singular, it looks like one bonsai tree in the middle. And you can see around you can see into Hollywood and also into the valley. You can see everything. You can walk right over to the Hollywood sign. It's a great little hike. And I timed it out, and I would be able to climb it up and be there for sunrise, like 10 minutes before sunrise. Super overcast day, like, it's been kind of wet and rainy here. But I got out of bed, I did this hike, and it was overcast. But then when it came out over the mountain, it cleared up, and it was the most gorgeous thing that I'd ever seen. I felt so connected to myself, to humanity. Yeah. I was like, I was doing Instagram stories like, I'm going to build a community of people. I just love everybody, right? So I'm like high on this feeling, right? Yes. It's a beautiful thing. It's not bad to feel good, right?
No, that's connected.
I went back home. I did a cold plunge. I'm like, I'm on top of the world. I do a voiceover session downtown, and then I'm getting back on the freeway, and I see these people, and they're like in this Mercedes, and one guy was like out of the car asking another car presumably for help, and that car drives away. So I'm like, nope, I love the world. I'm gonna. I pulled over, and this guy, he basically asked for gas money. We ran out of gas. I'm like, no problem, buddy. Here you go. Here's $20. And he's like, oh, well, here's the situation, and he proceeds to it was a scam, right? Yes. And I was so in this idea of I was feeling so good. It was almost like look how good I am, like a Jesus complex in a sense. Like I will show the world how to be, right? I don't know, but
no, I know what you mean. It started to switch. It started to make the switch.
Yeah. There's like this switch.
Subtle,
where
it's like a subtle.
And in a sense, it was like this desire for attachment. I want to hang on to this feeling. Yeah. This feeling is good. And I won't go into the details of the scam, but I ended up spending the next 2 hours with this guy who claimed to be and invoking the name of God the whole time, like very trustworthy individual, giving me his jewelry and all this stuff. And like, long story short, I actually went to an ATM, gave him some money, but I feel like my intention, whether it was ego-based or not, was to help this person. I kept like, I don't want your jewelry, dude. Just take this stupid amount of money that I just gave you and just go. But then that wasn't enough. Tried to elevate the scam to the next by giving me his Rolex and was like, I need this really insane amount of money. And I swear, like all these stories, all these things happening. And clearly red flags were there.
Coming,
But I was in it, like ended up going to the mall with this guy so he could test out this watch. And because at that point I'm like, look, dude, if you're not just going to take this and be grateful for whatever you scammed me for, because I knew at this point, like this is, anyway, that happened. And so starting the day literally on a mountain, on a high in a mountain, and ending having been deceived and betrayed. I woke up the next morning and I felt just bad. I felt sad and betrayed. And I'll try to be quick about this next part, but like
no, take your time.
I woke up and I went to the park, and I was like, I was hurt. I was sad.
Yeah.
And I sat down on the bench that I usually do, and I thought, like, these thoughts just started coming to my mind as I tried to, like, make sense of it. And the first thought I had was this idea of turn the other cheek. Like, that is something that Christ exemplified. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Could I actually forgive this person for what they did? Like, genuinely, could I release that? Mm-hmm. Because what came to my mind also was this idea, this parable of the talents, right? And I could see when life just comes at you and you get beat up, it's easy to basically hide yourself, hide these gifts that you've been given. I feel like I've been given a gift to connect with people, right? To try to bring people up. But if I took this one experience and hid those talents, like, well, no, it's not safe to give anymore. I could see how, as life comes at you hard, like, people can bury these talents and these abilities. And so I made this, like, conscious decision of, no, like, how could I let this define me? But what really came to mind as I finished my walk was when Christ, and I'll read the verse. I pulled it. It's give not that which is holy unto dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. Okay, so I'm walking, and I basically force people to say hi to me. And what I realized about that was, in a sense, I'm casting my pearls before swine. That's not, it's like attachment to outcome. Right. I'm a good guy, so I'm going to say hi to you. Yeah. I'm going to say hi to you. And even if you don't want it, even if your energy is clearly exhibiting that it would be essentially casting my pearls before swine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to force you to do that. And I forced myself to be this nice guy to this guy because of attachment to something that I wanted to feel about myself.
Beyond your intuitive knowingness.
I wanted to feel good about myself. And so like, you will say hi to me, and that will make me feel like I'm a good person because I'm putting good into the world, right? Versus watching somebody, knowing when they're coming at me with an energy that's open to receiving and going like, hey, maybe even having a conversation because I'm like listening to myself. I'm listening to the energy around me and connecting with that in an authentic way versus trying to construct and control the way people perceive me, the way I perceive myself. It's this practice of just being. So the money I lost was like this blessing in a sense.
It's a tithe, really. You're going to get that back 10 times or more because you didn't do it with bad intention. You're not going to be punished. God doesn't do spite work, but you learned a valuable lesson, and you're not the only one. That same scam was tried on me, and I didn't.
They get the bleeding hearts, man.
No, when the jewelry came out, I was like, okay, come on, I got to go. And then, Stephen, Stephen, they did it on him.
Stephen Tom Thorpe.
And Stephen fell for it to the tune of filling up a guy's truck of the same story, 200 plus dollars worth of gas. But then when it went to the next portion, that's when Steve went, oh, no, I got to go,
See ya.
But so you're not unique. You're not a bad person. You're not dumb. You're not foolish. I don't want you to think any of those things.
No, I didn't.
Good, because it does feel bad. I mean, when I fall for something like that, I feel so ashamed at myself for not knowing better.
There was a shame. There was like, I'm not going to tell anybody except my closest people. Now I'm telling the story in a podcast.
Yeah, but you're helping all of us.
You realize that, there's no need for that shame, right? That's like hiding yourself.
Yeah, that happened to me with high-end coaches, man.
Yeah,
that promised me all this stuff, and then it turned out,
seems really legitimate.
And it turned out the magazine they ran wasn't real. All the experience that they told me. I mean, there was a shred of reality to it. It wasn't completely fictitious, but it was not at all what we were promised, and it was a good amount of money. So,
and it was through a legitimate.
But I'm so thankful now because it was the same kind of feeding off of not knowing that the gift is already given, feeding off of a feeling that I'm going to show someone, or I'm going to. It's just not coming from that spiritualized consciousness place. That feeling, there's like a bit of an emptiness, or even if it's the high end of like, now I'm free of that emptiness, or what do you like?
Yeah.
It's
I'm
an
free.
empty fire.
This is where I need to be. This is where I'll always be.
Yeah.
And to that point, and to your point of like how knowing, there was one more thought that I had on this walk that as I was leaving, and like there's such a power in stillness, because oftentimes going inside requires a certain degree of stillness. It's not going to hit you over the head, right? And peace be still is it's a verse somewhere, but anyway, and I think we're always looking to externalize even our spiritual growth sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. Because people can give us, real quick, in Mormon theology, there was a war in heaven, right? So we all existed before we came here, and there was a war in heaven in which God was going to send us down so that we can gain experience and grow, but we needed somebody to bring us back to God, because there was be this separation of sin, right?
Right.
And so the devil or Satan volunteered and said, I will force everybody to do force everybody to do everything right, and they just need to listen to me, and I'll bring them all back, and the glory will be mine. And then Christ steps up and he says, well, no, I'll sacrifice myself, and the glory goes to God. So
wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, conceptually and theologically, it's really cool, because what I understood about it was we're always seeking this idea of Satan's plan. Like, we always want somebody else to give us the answers. Like, we scroll through Instagram, we scroll through memes, and like looking for that one thing that's finally going to click,
right.
or what do I need to do for my morning routine to be successful? How do I be successful? Like, we're always looking for somebody else and something else to take us back to God.
Right.
But God is within us. God is within all of us.
Yeah.
Like, the kingdom of God is within you, and Christ is leading us back to ourselves.
Yeah.
Leading us back to understanding and this connection to the divinity that's within all of us.
Yes.
That's the spiritualization of our consciousness. But on the other thing is, we turn into the devil for this concept when I'm the one who gets it now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the one now who's going to show them.
Yeah.
And all of that in the way of the Christ is unnecessary. The Christ is to reveal that the kingdom of heaven is within. And to do that, I have to know that myself.
Yes.
And then the Christ would also come up to a guy who's doing a scam and being like, sin no more. I know you're scamming. You're worth more than this. Like, it wouldn't be, let me go along, like the Christ within us, which is this discernment, because at any moment we can be still and see the salvation of the Lord. If we're willing to just slow down and stop and do something to see the Christ within, we will be protected divinely. That voice is already there, right? There was a voice inside you all along that was there that could have, I'm not saying going back and trying to change it, but I'm just saying the good news for me is the voice of the Christ was always there, even when I chose not to go with it, because I thought this high, no, this little devil's gonna be, it's like the salvation is just knowing that this truth, and it's so relaxing, and it just feels so good, man.
I gotta say this. I heard once from somebody. They said, because they found their way back, like you're talking, like we're all doing. I mean, we all end up coming back home to our higher power, God, whatever people listening on a call identify with. And she said, I would go, I don't hear the voice of God. I don't believe in this God stuff. Now she goes, I think I always did hear the voice of God. Mm-hmm. And I think we all have. And his name is, I had a feeling I shouldn't have went in that direction. I had a feeling something not right is going on here. I had a feeling, and I go, what a great metaphor to use for yourself. Yeah. I had a feeling. And there was something else I want to say. Mm-hmm. I don't want to end this program without saying this about blessing people, saying hello to people, because there's a way that I've come to do it where I don't need the hello back for a long time.
Yes.
I mean, because when I first did this, like I was taught, be an ambassador of God's love. I go, hi. I mean, guy doesn't say hi back. What a jerk.
Yeah.
So what I do now, what came to me then was a short little thing in my mind. I don't even know how I had this revelation, probably because I was meditating in the morning. And this was when I was still in the Coast Guard. I started realizing, you know what? I'm just here to bless these people. Like, feel their energy, like you said. Don't go, hey, hi. Like, don't force them. And just send love, a hello in spirit, like in my mind to them. And the ones I feel would be receptive, like, look at me, go, hey, give them it to them, because it's there.
Yeah.
And what about the ones that just have a grimace or look at you funny or do whatever I think I should criticize because they're not approving of me? I started realizing, wait a minute, this vibration of love towards them in this form of a hello, or I misread them and I said, hey, and they clearly didn't want it. Not that I wanted to talk to them, but just, hey, So I go, you know what that is? That is actually that hello, that one, or smile, just smiling at people. That will make a difference in that person's life. And I started thinking, maybe that guy who didn't seem to fully accept my smile at that moment, I go, that little thing that I put out, being part of the solution instead of part of the problem, when he goes home today after work, maybe this time when his son says, Dad, I can't figure out this math, instead of him going, son, I just came home, work was a nightmare, couldn't you ask your mother? Instead of doing that one little smile that I tossed him, instead he goes, yeah, let me take a look at that, son. Maybe we could work it out. It'll bless them in some way. And just knowing that is more than enough for me.
Well, that's your intention, right? Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen with that guy. But, yeah, and I think it's that switching of intention of, like, from this attachment to what it's going to mean about me versus, like, this is what I'm putting out, and, what will happen will happen. I'm not going to control that. But, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And to not, that doesn't, when I said that, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop saying hello.
No, you can't.
Your
personality won't allow it.
Yeah, it's true. You just switch that perspective, and it switches, and you remind yourself of that perspective. Constantly. That's the work to me. That's the practice of continually coming back to yourself every time you get it. What you guys were saying in the beginning of the program, just like, starting to rush or feeling anxious, it's this beautiful thing of being able to just basically pause, be still, observe those thoughts, and realize, oh, that's not me. That's just some, that's just some frequency that's like vibrating like this. I can reconnect with myself and approach this in a totally different way. Yeah. So
if we're gonna have a thankful, as the show is called. It comes from, we need to have a practice of returning to our divinity every day in some way. Like, we do the morning routine, meditate, read inspired words, similar things to the exact same things really you were saying. Read inspired words, we meditate, and then we do some affirmative prayer. We affirm, but when we affirm, we're affirming the truth from this new place that we get to through the reading and the meditation, where we realize our wholeness, where our conscious is spiritualized. Because when we do this, when I smile at people now, it has nothing to do with them, really. It has to do with me knowing who I am. And that smile reflects the truth of my being. It's not a manipulation tactic at all. It is bubbling up from the truth of me being me. And then recognizing that truth in you as well, because I've seen it within myself. You can do what you can do with it what you want. But it's not even that at all. Now it's just the natural glow of recognizing who and what I am. And then it blesses people. And like you said, and then when I do it consistently with the grumps, they love me over time.
Oh, dude.
Like when I'm at work, I mean, like if I say it's a coworker, the person who I least think is reflecting how much they love me, we end up having a great bond in one way or another, in ways that we
find out they listen to the show every day.
Right. But the number one thing is, I am love, and the more I return to it through a spiritual practice, through some sort of practice, the more it just naturally, it's just like the sun shining. It's just what we do,
We radiate.
That transforms everything.
We start exuding it.
Yeah. So, Will Rubio, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being part of our lives. Everyone, check out Random Acts on BYU TV. And anything else you're up to that you want people to know about?
Just finished a comedy tour. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but Random Acts has been renewed for season 9.
Wow, nice.
So I said it. There you go. Yeah. So we're gonna our first one. They just called me and scheduled it for this coming month. So we're gonna be back in action doing that, and very excited about that. Other than that, it's all corporate work and stuff like that.
Right on.
Well, tell Mason we love him.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Mason as well.
Give him a hug from Darrell and Ed.
So show him our
Mason
picture.
is soliciting prayers and good vibes right now. His mother is in the hospital right now, and so if anybody wants to send Mason Branning some love and his family some love, it'd be much appreciated.
What's her name? What's her first name? Do you know?
I actually don't know.
Mrs.
Her first
Branning?
name. Mrs. Branning.
All right, well,
Mama Branning is
let
her
him know
name.
sincerely that us and our people who pay attention to the show will be affirming health and well-being for Mama Branning.
Awesome, absolutely.
Yes.
And how do people find that your improv, that troupe you go with? Because we've gone to that show, and it's one of the few things that I don't call bad theater. Usually when we go to stuff, I go, we're going to some bad theater. What's the name of your
well, to find out when I'm performing, I'm at Will Rubio across all social media. I gotta get better about saying that. You're like, what's you got? And I'm like, nothing. At Will Rubio across all social media, and I will let you know when I'm performing. But that group is The Society Improv, and it's up in Santa Clarita, and we perform once every other month. But it's a great show,
so good.
Cool little theater, cool little downtown in Newhall. And it's great.
Yeah, it's mind blowing with the stuff you guys come up with on the spot and the way the show develops.
It's so smart.
Super uplifting.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. So give our regards to the crew. Let's just take a moment to, before we tell this joke, just give thanks for our time together, knowing that the energy and everything that's been released into the light is being transformed for the better. Our lives are continually unfolding in amazing ways. Anyone out there who's listening to this, the truth within you is blessing you as you surrender into your good. It's always there. These things are principles, and that's why the more we practice these principles and do the things, do the practices, and we recognize that our true security comes from knowing who we really are. It's principle. It can never change. It's always evolving and expressing in new ways, yet the goodness, the divinity within us never changes in these key ways that allow us to come through life, to express ourselves confidently and joyously, or just smile and shine our light as we pass someone on the road. So now,
just grin and bear it.
Just grin and share it.
There you go. That was a show we did.
Yeah, so
Lose your life.
You might not have guessed. Oh, now we know why Will Rubio was looking a little down.
Oh, that's right. We got this from TMZ.
But this is before we heard the story. We asked, "What's wrong, Will?" And Will replied,
during a business meeting yesterday, a very nice woman asked me about my background. So I told her all about my family, education, career, dreams, and goals.
So what happened?
Turns out she was just asking what's behind me in our Zoom call.
Hey-o. Hey-o.
The worse. Wait, what is it? The poorer the joke, the greater the guess.
That's right.
That's what we say. So you're up there, pal.
Man, then I am up there.
Wait.
Okay,
come on.
I had to hear the melody here. We're gonna.
How did you forget this great hit?
I know. I think the only thing I ever knew was the chorus. But
move those feet. Put on that dance, skinhead.
So, Indy, you want to bring in the host? The host now, Will Rubio.
Well, we start.
Just two new thought dudes on a Saturday night, looking for the light of our lives. In a real-time world, no one sees it at all. They all say we're crazy, locking rhythms to the beat of our hearts, changing movement into the light. We've danced into the danger zone when the dancer becomes the dance.
I can cut you like a knife if the gift becomes the fire on a wire between will and what will be. We are
are Praise-iacs on the floor.
Okay.
And we're dancing like we've never danced before. Why don't you start reading?
Do it.
Visit DarrellandEd.com to find
Will
easy
Rubio
links
at Will Rubio.
to everything we're doing.
We are Praise-iacs on the floor. And we're dancing like we've never danced before. Woo!
Wow, wasn't that an amazing podcast? Well, you could do that too here at CHOBOstudios.com here in the Los Angeles area. And if you're not in Los Angeles, you could always go to PodShuttle.io. It's our fully remote editing service where we'll cut up clips, we'll edit for you, podcast management. We do it all, baby. We got the digital goods here at PodShuttle and CHOBO. We love you.